Hello, my name is Cassie Current, and today I will be doing a presentation for my Intro to Instructional Technology class at Fort Hays State University. This presentation has to do with plagiarism in the 21st century. First, we'll go ahead and start with the history of plagiarism. Plagiarism has been around a long time, about as long since people could start working and making a profit by using their work writing ideas. Plagiarism has been around because people want to steal that and make profit off of it as well. So there's been a lot of people accused of plagiarism throughout the years, famous people including Shakespeare, Martin Luther King, George Harrison, etc. Today, actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of Robin Thicke, but he's actually in a court case about stealing some of his beats um, from, I think it was, let's see, Marvin Gaye, that's right. He said he was inspired by it, and now it's a big deal because his family, or Marvin Gaye's family, is suing him over that. So, around the year of 1710, there was a copyright law that was passed that protected the rights of writers and publishers. This law is commonly referred to as the Statute of Anne, and it gave the writers rights to their ideas or writings for a term of 20 years. And now more laws and statutes have been put in effect since that time, including the Berne Convention and the World Intellectual Property Organization Copyright Treaty. And now the term has been extended to the length of the author's life, plus 70 years. So if I were to write a book right now, as long as I lived, I would have the rights to that book and plus 70 years after my death. The Berne Convention is a convention that extends copyright protection to foreign creators. I believe the United States was one of the last countries to be a part of this convention. So when a country is put into that convention, they're not only protecting the rights of people that are in their country, but say if a European author like J.K. Rowling had their books published, the same rights that were extended in their country would be extended in ours as well. And the World Intellectual Property Organization Copyright Treaty incorporates the technology of today into copyright and fair use laws. So things such as video logs, blogs, articles, everything that can be put on to the internet is covered under that. So we'll go on to our next slide, which is plagiarism in the 21st century. Now, as of today, students have a lot of information that they can access really easily through the internet, and this really increases the probability that students will plagiarize and not properly cite the information that they use from other sources. Ways that they can do that: students can completely copy an essay, article, project, etc. online and present it as their own work. There are even websites called paper mills that write essays for the student and they present that as their own work. And this really gives a hard time to the teachers because they have to determine whether the work of the student is original or it's something that they plagiarized using the internet. So it really makes it a tough job for the teachers because their grading and the understanding of the material depends on whether or not the student came up with the ideas themselves or researched properly or cited properly. And we'll go on to the next slide here, which is gray areas in plagiarism and the problem with the internet. Now, there's a lot of problems with the internet that makes it hard for students to know when a source should be cited. With today's internet and Web 2.0, there's a lot of file sharing, video sharing, picture sharing that goes on, especially with all the applications that are available. And that makes it hard for them to know, since it's such a public space, whether or not they should cite those as a resource. Even if they don't think that they should, most of the time they need to cite it as where they got their information from. And some sites don't have an author or a date, which is some of the main information that we use to cite sources. And so it might appear as if they don't need to list these as a source, but anything that's taken and not originally created by the student needs to be listed as a resource. And examples of plagiarism is copy and pasting. So if I were writing an essay and say I didn't have enough time or I just really didn't understand the material, I could go online, find an article or an essay already written by somebody else, copy and paste it, and turn it into my own work. And that's plagiarism at its best right there. Paraphrasing is another one. That's where students might look at something, maybe a paragraph or an article, and just reword it or use key phrases out of it. And that's still plagiarism if they're not citing the resources. Failure to use quotations. So if they copy and paste something directly in there and they meant to use it, like they still cite the source but they didn't put quotations around it, that's still plagiarism. Failing to cite the original source. So if I were to put something in there and accidentally forgot to cite the source, it would still be plagiarism. Another thing that students do is, say I was looking up animals, about maybe beavers, and I had to do a project on that. I could just Google beavers and probably, 20,000 sites come up. If I went to 10 of those sites and copied something from each of the sites and put it together and didn't credit any sources, that would still be plagiarism. And copying anything verbatim that was not originally done by the student, that's plagiarism as well. So those are all good examples of what students are doing and using the internet for to create their projects but not citing the sources right. And next here is the real problem with plagiarism. Now there's more than one problem with plagiarism. The first is that the original creator doesn't receive proper credit, but in educational settings it's an even bigger problem because the student is presenting an original work and sometimes the students don't understand if they should cite material or not, and it makes it harder for the teachers. Even if they don't understand, if the teachers are not recognizing that it's plagiarized, or even if they do, should they give them a good grade? Does the student understand the material, or does it deserve a grade at all? And now we have the consequences of plagiarism. Plagiarism consequences are pretty severe. If a student's caught plagiarizing, it can start out anywhere from receiving a 0 for the assignment, a failing grade for the whole entire course. They can receive suspension from the school, or even be expelled from the school. And once a student gets caught plagiarizing, say they got expelled, they might not be able to get into another school after that, or if they got caught plagiarizing in high school, they may not be able to attend college. It can follow them throughout their whole entire life. So that's why it's really important that students understand what plagiarizing is and how to avoid it. And this is a quote that I found that I thought was pretty interesting. It says, if you steal from one author, it's plagiarism. If you steal from many, it's research. This was quoted by Wilson Misner. I thought it was kind of interesting because that is how it seems. If you cite 20 sources, you're still kind of taking the work from another author to kind of patchwork your own original work. So it's kind of in that gray area of what's plagiarism and what is not. And the prevention of plagiarism. Taking responsibility for plagiarism. I believe that teachers are a large part of the prevention of plagiarism. It's their job to make sure students understand what plagiarism is, when to cite their sources, and how to properly cite their sources. A lot of students, they might learn a little bit about it, but they're not completely sure, and it really needs to be drilled into their heads. That way they know, okay, I need to cite this source. Okay, I got this from here, let me put that down. That way they can't really get into trouble, and the teachers know that they are presenting their own original work. One way that teachers can prevent it is to use websites that detect plagiarism, and it lets the teachers know if the work has been plagiarism or if it's the student's original work. In my essay that I did on plagiarism in the 21st century, I went to one of the websites that popped up when I googled plagiarism detection. It was a free website. I just copied and pasted my essay into that, and it said 100% original work, no plagiarism. It's that easy. Okay, and examples of those plagiarism detection websites that I found, there's plagtracker.com, plagiarismdetect.com, turnitin.com, paperwriter.com, and plagiarismma.net. And each of these websites says that it has the ability to detect plagiarism, and most of them are free, so it'd be really easy for the teachers to just log on there, especially if the work was submitted electronically. Just submit it, see if there's any plagiarism going on. If it is, they can catch it ahead of time and let the student know. Maybe they don't understand, or maybe they just need to be told once, hey, this isn't okay. And let's go on to the next one. Alright, looks like that's it. Well, thank you so much for watching my presentation on plagiarism in the 21st century, and have a great day.